The Chicago Bulls take the court today to face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They'll be facing off against them for the second time in 3 days. I want to talk about why this game, despite a win in the last game, is not going to be easy for the Chicago Bulls. We're also going to look at why the starting five is finally starting to give the front office exactly what they wanted when they built this unit together. And we're going to look at how a big trade domino for Chicago could actually help them get Portland's pick. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. I want to start talking about this, right? The Chicago Bulls starting five, projected starting five coming into the season. We know we did not see that until almost 2 months into the season. That's how long it took us to see the projected starting five for the Chicago Bulls. And on today, I want to take a look at that, right? Because I think based off the last game against the Cavs, we're starting to see exactly what the vision was for the starting five. Now, how successful are the Bulls going to be with that? Those are things that remain to be seen, but let's take a look at it, right? So the Bulls starting five of Nikola Vucevic, Isaac Okoro, Buzelis, Josh Giddey, and Coby White, right? We knew that that was going to be the projected starting five coming into the season. We didn't get that to start off with because Coby White was injured, so Trey Jones was in the starting lineup. And then by the time Coby White came back from injury, we had a number of injuries up and down. Josh Giddey missed some games. Isaac Okoro missed some games. And so far in the season, we've only seen 32 minutes of that starting five. And the results are actually looking pretty good. The Bulls starting five has played 32 minutes together. In that time, they are plus 16. They have a net rating of plus 28, an offensive rating of 145, which is ridiculous, and then a mediocre defensive rating of 116, right? But they also have a pace of 102 when we talk about the Bulls, wanting to play fast, but they don't have to necessarily lead the league in pace, and that's a solid pace as well. And let's be clear here. The starting five has played 5 games together. In those games, we're 3-2. So there's starting to be signs that, again, and this is the thing with AK, right? Take this for what you will. Some people may look at this as a positive. Some may look at it as more of a negative, right? When AK builds rosters or starting fives, it seems like they are so intrinsically linked that if you miss out a component of that, you don't really get the best benefit of it, right? Think back to the last time that AK tried to build something, right? Lonzo Ball was such a key to making that starting five of him, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic work, that once he went down with injury, we never got to see that they never looked the same at all. They never looked the same, right? And so when you look at it, like, that could be the thing. And one thing that I did say a lot when we were kind of waiting for players to get back healthy was, all right, I want to see how Isaac Okoro plays off Coby White, right? And so far, those guys' minutes have been really positive together as well. The Bulls also have a assist percentage of 66.6 when that starting five is in the lineup, meaning that because you have solid passers all up and down that lineup, that you are moving the ball around consistently as well. The assist to turnover ratio is 3-2 also. So, everything is looking like when you have that starting lineup out there so far, very small sample size, good things are happening for the Chicago Bulls. Good things are happening so far. As a matter of fact, that same starting five, right? We're going to keep it with that same starting five. When they are out there, the Bulls' field goal shooting percentage is almost 48%, which is really good overall from the field, almost 39% from three. So you're seeing the way that the Bulls want to play. You're seeing that in that starting lineup. And that's exactly what you want to see when you build that. So the question now becomes about the runway that you have left here between now and the trade deadline. How many more games are you going to get of your actual starting five out there? We already know that Nikola Vucevic, of course, Vuce is in that starting lineup, but most Bulls fans will tell you we're not mad if we come up off of that, right? But when you look at this right now, the Chicago Bulls, that starting five also, when we talk about the need to be more towards the restricted area, when you combine restricted area touches and touches in the paint, that's accounting for 56%, almost 57% of that offense with those guys out there. That goes back to Coby White and Josh Giddey and their ability to create off the drive. That goes back to also the ability to hit three-pointers from both those guys as well. And what we've seen so far in that is that Isaac Okoro is not taking nearly as many threes anymore when he's out there with Coby White and the full starting five. He's actually slashing and cutting to the rim more, which actually suits him better also, right? The Bulls, with that starting five, are shooting 68% in the restricted area, 67% in the paint, 67% in mid-range, 66% with corner threes, and 42% in above the break threes. Those are great numbers. Now, again, I want to be clear here. Very small sample size. I don't want to act like once we have more of a 10, 15 game sample size, we can really kind of evaluate that more. The problem with that is, though, by the time we get to that 10, 15 games with this starting five, if everybody remains healthy from now on, you're right up into the trade deadline. That's just where you are at that point. So, the Bulls have to make a decision on what they want to do with these players, and they don't have a lot of time left to get to that point of that situation. But things are starting to look really good. That starting lineup is looking really solid that we're able to have them out there. We just got to see how consistent it's going to be. And that's the part that we don't know about right now, right? Like, we can look and project numbers all day long. I can throw a bunch of numbers, a bunch of stats at you, and things are looking really solid, right? But I think overall, until you get to the point where, you see it for a bigger sample size, it's extrapolating numbers, but it's a little bit difficult to start, right? So, with that said, this starting five right now has an edge. And it's clear. And then also when you compare that against other starting fives around the league, also in that time period, like that the Bulls starting five has not played as many as Orlando, Cavs or anything like that. But even when you still look at them compared to those lineups, the Bulls are right there. Matter of fact, if you look at the Clippers and Bucks, for example, two teams that are struggling, their starting five unit is in their 32 is negative, right? You look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? And how we played off against the Cavs, we dominated their starting five. We went 16 of 18 in field goal shooting percentage and had +7 with the Chicago Bulls starting five against the Cleveland Cavaliers started five and a 173.9 offensive rating. Now, let's see if we can do it again tonight, right? And that's going to be a determining factor. But as it seems right now, having your starting five out there for the Bulls, who would have thunk it, is actually giving them the results that they want to need. A lot of the things that I've pointed out as far as negatives about the Bulls offense overall over this losing streaks that we've been doing, a lot of that is going away now that your lineups are starting to make more sense. And then you even look at, now that we also have discovered the double big lineup, Trey Jones back into his natural role. We haven't had Ayo Dosunmu out there at all yet since this starting five has been back healthy. These are all things that are pointing in the direction of the Bulls. And I'm not even saying for them to turn around the season. I want to be clear here. What I am talking about now isn't about all of a sudden making the season some type of win for the Chicago Bulls. It's more so saying the talent evaluation part. You have to evaluate what you have talent-wise on this. But this is why I say things like people, they question like, hey, I don't think we have enough talent. It's like, look at what that's doing. Look at that compared to other starting fives around the league. Like, it's very comparable to some of the best that you'll see. The question then becomes about, of course, can they keep it up? And that's the biggest question here. And that's something that AK is going to have to evaluate, as we get into the trade deadline, is who needs to keep. AK's own words, we're evaluating for long-term fit. And so now, how do you see that fit? How do you see the fit of the five? How do you see the fit of the players around that five? That's going to be a huge, important part of all of this evaluation time that we're doing. But things are, I think, looking better than some people would have you believe. We just got to see how many games we can win. Because if you're losing, despite all of that, like, the Bulls got to win more often. And everything comes down to that. If you want to eliminate the question on if the mix here is going to work, the only way that you can do that is win. And so unless the Bulls start winning consistently, all the stats in the world are mute points. They just got to go out there and prove it. But as of right now, interjecting, this is why I said, like, people want to blame Coby for everything. Since interjecting Coby White back into the starting lineup, the Bulls are working. And that starting five is working. And we're 3-2 with that starting five. Let's go and see how many more games we can get together with that starting five being out there. We'll see what's going to happen there. But let me know what you guys think down below. Hearing those numbers thrown at you, hearing those stats thrown at you, how does that make you feel about the Bulls starting five? How does that make you feel about where things could be headed for this team as we, going into the end of December, trying to flip the calendar and hopefully start flipping, some of our chances with some things? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, I also want to talk about another thing, right? And we got a quote here from Michael Scotto from Hoops Hype. He says this: multiple executives have circled the Portland Trailblazers as a potential buyer ahead of the trade deadline and among the teams that like Murphy around the league. Some executives around the league who've spoken with Hoops Hype have also wondered if it would take a package similar to Desmond Bane trade to acquire Murphy, who's only 25 and signed to the 2028-29 season. So it seems like right now the Portland Trailblazers are trying to make a move to solidify their chances of making the playoffs. And why does that matter for the Chicago Bulls? Because for those fans that don't know, the Bulls own, they have a Portland Trailblazers first-round pick that's lottery protected, which means that for it to not be in the lottery, the Portland Trailblazers have to make the playoffs. Not play in, they have to make the playoffs. And the Portland Trailblazers are right now 10th in that Western Conference. The Bulls hold protections on that pick till 2028. And while it may not convey now in 2026 in the draft next year, you still have 2 more drafts after that it has to convey by. And I think when you look at this for the Bulls, if that the Portland Trailblazers are already making all-in moves to try to increase their playoff chances, Dame is not playing this year. He's playing next year, though. So when you look at that, this could paint a picture in which the Bulls have a very favorable chance of getting that first-round pick back soon. And that's good because if the Bulls can, that's going to give them an additional first-round pick in whatever draft. I don't care that it's not in the lottery. Just having that additional first-round pick gives you flexibility. And so this is a pick that we've been waiting a lot for. Keep in mind, we got this pick in the Lauri marketing trade. That is where we got this pick from, right? So we've had this pick already for 5 years. And so it could go another 3, right? So we could be talking about that for another 3 years. But listen, the Bulls right now are in a place where they need as many assets as possible. And with Portland being kind of ahead of schedule, you got Denny Advia playing there. And how that team has come on. You got Hanson Yang, who's another player that's very promising. Isn't playing a whole lot now, but very promising. If you add Trey Murphy III to that mix with what the Portland Trailblazers are already doing, I feel confident. Where that pick used to be, we always used to talk about that pick as the fake pick, right? That's always how we used to talk about it. But now it seems like there's a legitimate chance that that pick not only will convey, but at some point that it will convey. But when we have a chance, it's going to be really good. So, we'll see what happens there. But overall, I'll say this, with the Portland Trailblazers as well, and you got to keep in mind, if they want to, there's another wrinkle to this as well. If the Trailblazers want to include, because the Bulls do have protections on their first-round pick, the Portland Trailblazers can't trade, first-round picks. Basically, they can't trade any of them because of the way the Bulls protection work. Keeps in mind, because the Bulls have protection each and every, they could potentially get that trade every year. The Portland Trailblazers can't even trade picks every other year because all those picks could go to the Bulls. Now they can start trading picks outwards to 2032 and XYZ. So they do have that at their disposal. But if the Portland Trailblazers want Trey Murphy III and they need that additional pick, it could actually behoove the Chicago Bulls to get involved in that. Not only could they try to throw in Nikola Vucevic as part of that trade, they could also say, hey, Portland, if you just give us the pick in 2026 or you just give us the pick in 2027, just say, hey, instead of us waiting until you're not in the lottery, just say, hey, 2027, that's your pick. We can help facilitate this Trey Murphy trade for you to get him there. Now, I know a lot of Bulls fans are going to say they want Trey Murphy instead, and I do too. Make no mistake about it. I would love him on this Bulls team instead of helping. Those are something that we can do. There's something that we can do. So we'll see what it's going to be here, and we'll see what this team could do with it. But overall, I think things are starting to look up for the Chicago Bulls. You have another avenue. Now, it would take AK needing to get creative, and that's always where I don't have very much faith at. I don't have faith at AK to make these creative trades and look at it and say, hey, I can get involved in this and get the protections removed from the pick and just get the pick outright. Or even if you don't do that, like use Nikola Vucevic as part of that. Like, I don't know if I trust AK. We have heard nothing about the Bulls being the third team in the trade at all. And that is that's how you can use expirings as well. So, to fight against my own point, maybe that's just not going to happen. Maybe that's just not going to happen, but we shall see we'll see what the Bulls do. But let me know what you guys think down below. Hearing that the Portland Trailblazers are looking to make all-in deals at the trade deadline, do you see that as a great opportunity for the Bulls that they're going to get that pick outright, or do you think the Bulls should also get involved to help Portland use one of their other first-round picks by, again, guaranteeing the pick for the Chicago Bulls? There's a lot of opportunities there Again, you may not see it or you may not think that AK is going to take it. I can't blame you for that, but there are a lot of opportunities there for the Chicago Bulls. We just got to see what AK is going to do. With that said, let's move on. The Bulls have a game tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and this is a game of a team, of course, that we just beat in the last game by double digits, and that was a game that the Bulls did get out to an early double-digit deficit, but they came back to, right? The thing with that is, though, is that the Cavs shot 31% from three in the last game. You can't bank on them shooting that bad from three 2 games in a row. Not a team with Donovan Mitchell. And while Donovan Mitchell still did have 32 points, he went 11 of 23 from the field, he can have an even more efficient night. The 31% from the Cleveland Cavaliers from three is the thing that I want to look at. We have to continue to work them. We can't take that for granted. They were 48% overall from the field. The Bulls also shot 56 from the field as a team. You know why they shot that percentage? Because they were getting their ass in the paint more often. So while they beat the team last year, in the last game, they cannot come into this game and slack. You didn't accomplish anything with that win. You look at the 12 steals that the Chicago Bulls had. That was an active defensive team that stayed on their P's and Q's defensively. That's what the Bulls are going to have to do in this game as well. You have to come into this game once again and try to set the tone defensively. The Bulls did a good job of that in the last game, and I didn't necessarily expect that against the Cavs. Evan Mobley is going to miss this game again for the Cleveland Cavaliers, so that means that their best rim protectors is still not going to be out there. Now, they still do average a nice amount of blocks. They still had 3 blocks, for example, against the Chicago Bulls in the last game, but Evan Mobley not being there continues to be something that the Bulls can benefit with getting to the paint because he's not out there. Donovan Mitchell is also now listed as day-to-day. He's questionable to play today with an illness, which may be the reason why he didn't quite look himself down the stretch of that game. But so the fact that you already got Max Strus out, you got Evan Mobley out, and if they're missing Donovan Mitchell as well, that usually shapes up for a Bulls loss. I'm just being 100% honest. Usually when all those things start stacking and looking in the favor for the Chicago Bulls, the Bulls lose the game. Don't lose the plot today. Look at this team, understand where you are, and come in here and give the necessary effort so that you can achieve what you need to achieve in this game, and that's another dub. And we'll see if the Bulls can stack that, man. You cannot overlook this game at all for the Bulls, and I'll say this, offensively, that starting 5 unit that I just talked about as well, go and look at that starting 5 unit and how they perform today. And this is a trend now that I'm going to continue to work. I'm going to look at every single game now. It's how the starting 5 is trending because the numbers are holding up really well for them. We need to see Josh Giddey and Coby White on again. The Bulls, Coby White really woke up from 3 in the last game. He didn't even really take that many, right? 3 of 5 from 3. It's crazy that when he's shooting efficiently from 3, he took less threes where we saw, in some games, he was 1 of 9, 1 of 11 from 3, right? So let the threes come to you. Don't force it. The Bulls only took 36 threes in the last game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they scored 127 points. That's why we say, and why I talk about, you don't have to be this 49, 45 three-point shooting team. You just got to be efficient with the other shots that you take. The Bulls were that in the last game. They were efficient at getting to the rim. They were elite near at getting to the rim and finishing around the rim because they attacked. That's what you need to do. Attack, rebound the ball well. You out-rebounded the Cavs by 3 in the last game. This is not a team that you shape up to out-rebound by a super large margin, but you do need to out-rebound them. You do need to put in that team work on the glass. And when you look at it, we only had 1 player in double digits as far as rebounds. That was Josh Giddey with 11. Vooch had 9. He was second, but then there was a lot of 4s, 3s, 2s. Rebound as a team. That's what you have to do in every single game for this Bulls team. Take efficient offense. And then also, let's look at what the double big lineup does for us in this game as well. It was something that Billy Donovan went to early in the last game. It was intentional that he went to the double big lineup. That can continue to be. We're talking about the trends of the starting lineup, the trends of that double big lineup. We need to continue to see that for the Bulls also, because if that continues to be this weapon for the Bulls like it looks like it's going to shape up to be, that could be another competitive advantage for the team, and one that helps them match up with some of the other teams around the league that do naturally have double bigs. We're seeing that a lot more often now, and the Bulls got to really uncover that. So we'll see what's going to happen here. The Cavs, have a 15-3 record. They're 3-7 in their last 10, but they're 10-10 in their last 20. It's still very early into the season, but that was a quality win for the Chicago Bulls. Now, like I said after yesterday's game, can you do it again? Can you do it again? I don't believe it in what we saw last game, that can be consistent until you show me. That's the stage that we're back at with this Bulls team. It's all about what you show game to game, how you execute game to game, the heart you give game to game. And let's hope the Bulls are going to be ready for this one. We're going to need Giddey, Coby, everyone to really step up. I would assume it was questionable coming into this game. So in the pregame show, we'll talk about whether he's available for the Bulls or not. But you are getting closer and closer to full health. Now let's go there and see what we can do with it. But, that's my time for today, man. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell if you want to be notified every time that we go live here with Chicago Bulls Central. I also want to hear you guys in the thoughts. Do you trust this version? Are you starting to trust more of this version of the Bulls as we're seeing more and more stats that stack up and show, hey, maybe they can start pulling themselves out of this, right? But let me know what you guys think on that down below, as well as the Portland Click and everything we talked about today. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. That is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, stay safe out there, go Bulls, and always see red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.